welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're not looking at markets, not at tech. We're diving into a stack of texts that lay out the unwritten laws of power, how it's won, how it's kept, and how people really get ahead.
Yeah, this is a deep dive into pure strategic maneuvering.
Right.
We're basically analyzing a playbook of human behavior. And, it's important to say, these sources aren't giving moral advice.
Right.
It's a cold analysis. It's about the mechanisms of power, specifically how you can control perception and action. Our mission here is really just to extract that pure strategy, to see the world as a high-stakes competition.
And the material is just incredible. It lays out these very specific laws and then backs them up with centuries of history. I mean, we're talking vivid examples from Louis XIV, Hannibal.
P.T. Barnum, even.
Exactly. The great showman.
And for you, the listener, understanding this stuff is like getting a shortcut, because these power dynamics, this deception, the manipulation of appearances, it's everywhere.
Boardrooms, negotiations.
Everywhere. And knowing the blueprints lets you navigate it all. You can, spot the move before it even lands.
Okay, so let's link with the absolute foundation, the outer shell you present to the world. Law 5 basically says your reputation is the cornerstone of power. They call it the unassailable shield.
It really is. A strong reputation can intimidate and win battles before they even start. It's a kind of a deterrent. If people think you're ruthless or brilliant, they have to think twice before challenging you.
Even if the power is just perceived.
Right, even then. But what's really crucial here is the dual requirement. It's not just about guarding your own image, you also have to learn how to poke holes in your enemy's reputations.
Which feels pretty ruthless. You just create the opening.
And then stand back and let public opinion do the rest.
Okay, so if reputation is so key, you'd assume the goal is just appear perfect. But then Law 46 comes in with this really surprising warning. Never appear too perfect.
It's one of the most dangerous mistakes you can make. Flawlessness invites envy, and envy is just the silent, corrosive enemy. When someone seems perfect, other people feel inferior or judged.
So they start looking for your flaws.
They actively search for them, yeah.
Yeah.
Either to humanize you, or more often to discredit you.
So admitting to a harmless flaw is actually a form of social defense. It makes you seem more human, more approachable.
Exactly. It deflects that resentment before it can build into an attack. And if you're going to maintain this aura, you have to control how you communicate. Which brings us to Law 4. Always say less than necessary.
Right, the more you say.
The more common you appear, the more likely you are to say something foolish or, just reveal too much, you seem out of control.
I love the idea in the text that even like a banal comment can seem profound if you just say it vaguely, make it Sphinx-like.
And Louis XIV was the absolute master of this. You have to picture the French court, right? His courtiers are going on and on in these exhausting debates trying to persuade him, and Louis just sits there, says almost nothing. And then, when they finally ask for a decision, he gives this incredibly short, concise answer.
And it carries immense weight.
Terrifying weight, because nobody could figure out his intentions. They were left just picking apart the few words he offered.
Okay, so let's contrast that with a total failure of appearance.
Yeah.
Law 34. Act royally to be treated as such. You brought up Louis Philippe, the bourgeois king.
Yes, he tried the exact opposite strategy. He wanted to cultivate this common man image.
So he's walking around Paris with a hat and an umbrella.
Like a shopkeeper, yeah. And in doing that, he dissolved the distance. Power needs a certain mystique, an aura of majesty, something that inspires either loyalty or fear. When he became too common, he couldn't inspire either.
So when the revolution came,
he just, as the source says, vanished in the night. No one would rally to him. And, it makes you wonder about today, right? The CEO who's all over social media, trying to be relatable, are they risking that same erosion of their aura?
That's a great question. So once you've built that shield, that aura, the next step is to use it to hide your real motives.
Yeah.
Law 3, the smoke screen. It's all about concealing your intentions.
If people don't know what you're really after, they can't prepare a defense. It's that simple. The whole point is to confuse them. You guide them down a fake path, you dangle a decoy.
So by the time they figure it out, it's too late.
It's already done.
P.T. Barnum gave us this, perfect, literal example.
Oh, it's brilliant.
He drew this huge crowd to watch a bricklayer ceremoniously build a brick wall, just to immediately tear it down again.
Total nonsense. A spectacle about nothing. And while everyone was captivated by that, Barnum was quietly running his real, profitable show somewhere else entirely.
It's amazing.
And there's a really critical psychological insight here. The sources say that paranoid people are often the easiest to deceive.
Really? That seems backward.
Well, think about it. If you're suspicious of everything, you're desperately looking for just one thing you can trust. So if you can win their confidence in one small, harmless area, that trust becomes a blinding smokescreen. It lets you get in close for the real move.
Which brings us right to Law 12. Use selective honesty. You don't need to be honest all the time.
You just need one single, powerful act of integrity. That one act can blind people to everything else you do.
The story of Jay Gould is such a good cautionary tale here. This guy was a notoriously ruthless financier,
Yeah.
deeply distrustful of
But
everything.
also paralyzed by it, yeah. And yet this con artist, Lord Gordon, completely fooled him. He started with an act of pure honesty and support, asked for nothing in return.
And for Gould, that was so unexpected.
It was so disarming that it created this huge psychological blind spot. Gould missed every single red flag after that. By the time he realized what was happening, he'd lost millions. That one honest act was the perfect shield for the whole scam.
So once you know how to deceive, you need to know what to look for in your target, which is Law 33. Discover each person's thumbscrew. What exactly is a thumbscrew?
The sources define it as a deep insecurity, an uncontrollable need, a secret pleasure. It's the gap in the castle wall.
The key vulnerability.
Exactly. And you don't find it by asking directly. You find it through indirect probing, flattery, observations, seeing where they have emotional voids, what they desperately need validation for. That need becomes your lever.
The anecdote about the art dealer Joseph Duveen and Arabella Huntington is just classic. She had all the money in the world, but she was deeply insecure about her background.
Her lower class origins, yeah. And Duveen saw that instantly. He realized he wasn't selling her paintings.
He was selling her social status.
He was selling her confirmation. He played right into her thumbscrew by convincing her that only by buying these extravagant old master paintings could she truly solidify her place in high society. He filled that emotional void with art.
And because he was leveraging that deep need.
She became completely dependent on him. She could never say no.
Let's shift gears now from manipulation to the strategic element of time. Law 30 is all about mastering timing. It demands patience above everything else.
Timing is absolutely everything. The Greeks had two words for time, chronos and kairos.
Right.
Chronos is just clock time, 1 minute after another. But kairos,
That's the opportune moment.
that's the critical strategic moment. And if you rush, if you mistake activity for progress, you make huge mistakes. The master of power is often on the defensive, just waiting for the opportunity to ripen.
The story of Tokugawa Ieyasu in Japan is a perfect example of this. His rival Hideyoshi rushed into this disastrous invasion of Korea.
Burned through all his resources, his reputation, everything. A very costly, very impulsive war.
But
Ieyasu just stood aside. He waited, patiently, for years. He let Hideyoshi's downfall play out on its own. He never committed his own forces, he just positioned himself to grab power when the kairos, the right moment, finally arrived. His victory wasn't about a sudden move, it was about the self-control to wait.
And related to timing is this idea of distance. Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor, which basically means familiarity breeds contempt.
It really does. If you're always there, always available, you become predictable, your aura loses its shine. The strategy is to create a temporary withdrawal, a planned absence.
A kind of death before death.
Right, and when you return, it's like an air of resurrection. People appreciate you again. Your value, your fame, it's all intensified.
The story of Guillaume de Vallon and the troubadour is it's a perfect illustration. The troubadour intentionally pushes her away. He becomes cold, silent.
Deliberately, to make her miss him. And her affection just grows and grows in his absence, so when he finally returns and they reconcile, it's so much more intense. It's gratifying precisely because of that strategic distance he created. He turned appreciation into raw desire.
Okay, for our final section, let's talk about managing risk and leveraging other people. Law 26 is so important here. Keep your hands clean. This breaks down into two key roles, the cat's paw and the scapegoat.
The powerful have to keep their reputation spotless, which means, they can't be seen doing the dirty work. The cat's paw is the person you use to do the risky or unpleasant tasks for you.
And the scapegoat.
That's the person who takes the public blame for your mistakes. You deflect all the ill will onto them. Clever strategists make sure all the negative stuff lands on somebody else.
The story of Chow Chow is just a brutal, immediate example of the scapegoat. His troops were about to mutiny over a food shortage. It looked like his incompetence.
Total crisis. So instead of admitting fault, he publicly executes the chief of rations, the official scapegoat. He blames him for everything.
Wow.
And it serves two purposes. First, the brutal act stops the rebellion through pure fear. Second, it diverts all the army's anger away from him and onto this one dead guy. The troops are now focused on his decisive wisdom, not his logistical failure.
That is just ruthless efficiency. Okay, moving from people to value. One of the most counterintuitive laws for me is Law 40. Despise the free lunch.
Yes. The sources are deeply, deeply skeptical of anything that comes for free. They argue it almost always has hidden costs, psychological obligations, material complications. It entangles you.
So it's better to just pay full price for excellence.
Because that price buys you independence, it keeps you free.
But then you contrast that with strategic generosity, which is never really free lunch, is it? It's a calculated investment. Louis IV used this.
Perfectly. He would shower his courtiers with gifts and honors, but not out of kindness. He was making them financially dependent on him. By forcing them to live these expensive lives at court that only he could fund, he completely crushed their ability to rebel. He bought their reliance.
So we really covered the whole spectrum here. Power built on perception, protected by silence, advanced by deception, leveraged by timing, and secured by keeping your hands clean.
And all these laws, they're really just the mechanisms of human nature laid bare, but the ultimate strategy, the one that ties it all together, is Law 48. Assume formlessness.
Be like water.
Exactly. To hold power long term, you have to be fluid, adaptable. Never commit to one fixed plan or shape. That way you can constantly change tactics while your opponents are stuck in their rigid positions.
But that adaptability has to be married to a long-term vision. That's Law 29, right? Plan all the way to the end. Success isn't just the dream, it's anticipating every single pitfall.
And most people don't do that. They focus on the happy ending, the promotion, the win, and they totally ignore all the difficult steps and costs to actually get there.
So let's leave you with this final thought. Given that real success requires calculating every difficult step, what opportunities in your own life might you be missing? Because you're only focused on that glorious finish line, that happy ending, instead of soberly calculating the costs and the pitfalls between here and there. Are you planning for success, or are you just daydreaming about it?